The Zefkari High Command had spent 3 cycles planning what they called the Great Purging. Their species had conquered 17 star systems through calculated psychological warfare, breaking enemy morale before the first shot was fired. They studied their targets meticulously, identifying weaknesses, exploiting fears, and sowing chaos until civilizations crumbled from within. Humans, they concluded, would be no different. Admiral Kethivor reviewed the intelligence reports one final time. The humans were a young species, barely 2 centuries into interstellar travel. Their military was scattered across dozens of colonies, their governments fractured by petty disputes, their people soft from centuries of relative peace. Most telling of all, their entertainment media revealed an obsession with apocalyptic scenarios, clear evidence of a species paralyzed by existential dread. "Deploy the chaos engines," Kethivor commanded. Across human space, reality began to unravel. The chaos engines were the Zefkari's masterwork, devices that could destabilize the quantum foundations of matter itself. Planets shuddered as gravity fluctuated wildly. Space stations found their artificial atmospheres turning to liquid mercury, then crystallizing into impossible geometric shapes. Entire solar systems watched their suns flicker between different spectral classes. On Earth, the ocean turned purple and began flowing upward. In the Proxima Centauri colonies, colonists woke to find their buildings had transformed into writhing masses of living metal. The Mars terraforming domes suddenly contained atmospheres of pure music, visible, breathable sound waves that tasted like childhood memories. The Zefkari waited for the inevitable surrender transmissions, the panicked pleas for mercy that had come from every other species within hours of deployment. Instead, they received something else entirely. The first transmission came from Colonel Sarah Chen on Luna Base. Her image flickered through the quantum distortion, her uniform somehow remaining crisp, despite the fact that her office walls were currently cycling through the entire electromagnetic spectrum. "Unknown hostile forces," she said, her voice carrying an edge the Zefkari had never encountered before. "You have just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. Humanity's greatest problem has always been boredom." Admiral Kethivor's mandibles clicked in confusion. This wasn't fear. This wasn't desperation. This was something far more unsettling. Reports began flooding in from across human space. On Europa Station, where the ice had turned to liquid starlight, Security Chief Marcus Rodriguez was organizing races through the new prismatic environment. His transmitted message was brief. "Finally, something interesting around here." From the agricultural worlds, where crops now grew in fractal patterns that hurt to look at directly, came reports of farmers gleefully harvesting impossible vegetables. "These things taste like mathematics," laughed one farmer from New Iowa. "My kids love them." But it was the military responses that truly baffled the Zefkari. Captain Elena Vasquez of the UES Determination encountered a region where space-time had folded into origami shapes. Instead of retreating, she ordered her ship directly into the distortion. Her tactical report was enthusiastic. "We've discovered we can use the temporal loops for ammunition resupply," firing the same torpedo 17 times per trigger pull, requesting permission to engage. Permission was not only granted but celebrated. Within 6 hours of the Chaos Engine deployment, human forces were not just adapting to the impossible conditions, they were weaponizing them. Admiral Jackson Cole figured out how to use gravity wells that flowed like water as slingshots for kinetic bombardment. Commander Yuki Tanaka discovered that in regions where physics had broken down entirely, human intuition and creativity became the governing forces of reality. The breakthrough came when Lieutenant Tom O'Brien, a demolitions expert from Glasgow, realized that areas of pure chaos responded to aggressive positivity. While standing in a zone where his legs had been replaced by tentacles of living mathematics, he shouted, "Right then, let's blow something up." The chaos around him immediately organized itself into a perfectly functional explosive device. The Zefkari watched in growing horror as humans across their space began treating the apocalyptic scenario like an extreme sport. Social media networks, somehow still functioning despite operating through dimensions that shouldn't exist, filled with videos of humans surfing tsunamis of liquid time, base jumping off floating mountains made of crystallized music, and racing vehicles through regions where the speed of light was merely a suggestion. "Sir," reported Kethivor's tactical officer, "they're not just surviving the chaos. They're having fun." The final blow to Zefkari morale came when they detected massive energy signatures from the human fleet. Admiral Cole had figured out how to chain the chaos effects together, creating cascading reality failures that ripped through space-time like a cosmic shotgun blast. The humans had turned their entire sector into a weapon. Commander Vasquez's transmission reached the Zefkari fleet as their instruments detected the wave of weaponized chaos approaching. She was grinning, her ship now partially composed of what appeared to be solid music and liquid starlight. "Thanks for the upgrade, boys. We've been looking for an excuse to really cut loose for decades. Oh, and just so you know, we reverse-engineered your little toys about 3 hours ago. Hope you don't mind if we return the favor." Admiral Cathivore barely had time to scream, "Retreat!" before reality around his fleet began to collapse in specifically human ways. Aggressive, creative, and somehow incorporating what appeared to be explosive devices made of pure mathematics. As his flagship's hull transformed into what his sensors insisted was weaponized jazz music, Cathivore finally understood the intelligence reports his analysts had missed. Humans didn't fear chaos and uncertainty. They were bored by peace and order. They'd been waiting their entire history for someone to give them a proper challenge. The Zefkari had thought they were unleashing chaos. Instead, they had unleashed humanity. And humanity had been ready to play.